Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Amherst. I'm Reverend Michelle Buhite, the minister of this congregation. We are so glad you have chosen to worship with us today. As we gather, we acknowledge that our church is built on occupied land that once belonged to the First Nations people of this region, the Haudenosaunee. We begin our worship together by lighting our flaming chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism that embodies the light of reason and the search for truth and meaning, the warmth of friendship and community, and the fire of our commitment to bring more justice and compassion to a hurting world. If you have a chalice or a simple candle at home, please prepare to light it as we light our shared chalice. Blessed is the fire that burns deep in the soul. It is the flame of the human spirit touched into being by the mystery of life. It is the fire of reason, the fire of compassion, the fire of community, the fire of justice, the fire of faith. It is the fire of love burning deep in the human heart, the divine glow in every life.
Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near. Spirit, draw near. Come as you are, as you were, as love wants you to be, as a friend among friends, in your own harmony. Take your time, have no fear, the choice is yours and we're all here. Take a rest, ease your mind, come on home, right now's the time. Come as you are, as you were, as love wants you to be, as a friend among friends, in your own harmony. Take your time, have no fear, the choice is yours and we're all here. Take a rest, ease your mind, come on home, right now's the time.
I call us to worship with these words by the French essayist Marcel Proust. We do not receive wisdom. We must discover it for ourselves after a journey through the wilderness, which no one else can make for us, which no one can spare us. For our wisdom is the point of view from which we come at last to regard the world. Today may we heed that inner wisdom that prompts us to bring our whole selves to life, declining to remain spectators to the beauty around and within us. It was another one of those weekly meetings with our Director of Faith Development, Angela, and we were looking at worship themes and possibilities. We'd been chatting about the proposed eighth principle of Unitarian Universalism when Angela remarked that now our faith tradition had an eightfold path, just like Buddhism. I immediately put it on the calendar to do a service around these two eightfold paths, not knowing if there would be any intersections, but that they were both orthopractic, emphasizing right living rather than orthodoxic, with its emphasis on right belief. That seemed like a good starting point. The short answer is that there is no easy correlation between the Buddhist Eightfold Path and our expanding principles. No cozy alignment on the Dharma wheel. However, there are important similarities as well as differences. Unitarian Universalists are attracted to Buddhist practice because, well, it's a practice, orthopractic. Rather than a series of beliefs in the supernatural, Buddhism invites the practitioner to encounter their own anguish and gather the tools and practices to let go of craving and find the freedom to pursue the path to inner and outer peace. Identifying anguish and its origins and developing practices that support its cessation and to move one along on the path to greater consciousness are collectively known as the Four Ennobling Truths, which lead to peace and non-attachment. Non-attachment has always been a challenging concept for me. Isn't attachment to those we love a good thing? Doesn't attachment to goals help us to achieve the best for our lives? Well, let me share with you some insights from Stephen Batchelor's book, Buddhism Without Beliefs. He writes, "The Buddha woke up to the nature of the human dilemma and a way to its resolution. The first two truths, anguish and its origins, describe the dilemma. The second two, cessation and the path, its resolution. He awoke to a set of interrelated truths rooted in the immediacy of experience here and now. To understand a worry is to know it calmly and clearly for what it is, transient, contingent, and devoid of intrinsic identity. The challenge of the first truth is to act before habitual reactions incapacitate us, while craving, the second truth, may be the origin or cause of the anguish, which is the first truth. This does not mean that they are two separate things any more than the sprout is separate from the daffodil that emerges from it. Our anguish or suffering, as intense as it may feel, is transient. It will pass. Letting go of a craving is not rejecting it, but allowing it to be itself, a contingent state of mind that once arisen will pass away. So I can be fully present with those I love without clinging to them and demanding that they remain as they are. As I loosen my grip and simply enjoy the people they are becoming, we are all set free. Awakening is no longer something to be attained in the future, but an authentic way of being in the world. Stephen Batchelor writes, "Understanding anguish leads to letting go of craving, which leads to realizing its cessation, which leads to cultivating the path. These are not four separate activities, but four phases within the process of awakening itself. Understanding matures into letting go. Letting go culminates in realization. Realization impels cultivation." Awakening, attachment, non-attachment, these are challenging concepts, especially for those of us raised in Western culture. That's one of the challenges of connecting Buddhism and Unitarian Universalism. We come from different perspectives and cultures. Let me see if there is a slightly simpler way to understand non-attachment. Oh, I know. I have the perfect story. It's a little book by Lane Smith entitled A Perfect Day.
The warmth of the sun felt good on Kat's back. Kat liked to be in the flower bed where the daffodils grew. It was a perfect day for Kat. The cool of the water was what Dog liked best. When it was hot, Dog sat in the wading pool that his friend Bert filled for him. It was a perfect day for Dog. Birdseed. Bert topped off the bird feeder with it. It was a perfect day for Chickadee. Squirrel went up the pole. Squirrel went down the pole. Squirrel could not get to the seed. Bert dropped a corn cob onto the grass. It was a perfect day for Squirrel. It was a perfect day for Squirrel. It was a perfect day for Chickadee. It was a perfect day for Dog. It was a perfect day for Cat. The warmth of the sun, the cool of the water, a belly full of corn and seed, a flower bed for a nap. It was a perfect day for Bear.
Each creature has its own definition of the perfect day, and by extension, an unperfect day. Practicing non-attachment when one creature's perfect day collides with another's makes it possible to participate in the reality of the moment without suffering. The bear is not seeking to ruin anyone's perfect day. He's simply relishing his own. There will be more sunny spots for cat naps, more cool water, and more snacks tomorrow. Perfection of any kind is merely a perspective. That's a good reminder for those of us who demand it of ourselves and others. As we practice non-attachment, we can be more loving with ourselves, which will make us more loving with one another.
May I be filled with loving kindness.
weeks ago, we considered the sixth source of Unitarian Universalism and the impact that earth-centered traditions have had on our faith movement. We affirmed the importance of embodied faith that values not only reason and rationality, but also the mystery and wonder of trans-rationality. Today, we expand the notion of an embodied faith as we consider Buddhism in light of the Unitarian Universalist principles, which is completely in keeping with our fifth source, the wisdom of world religions. Marcel Proust wrote, "We do not receive wisdom. We must discover it for ourselves after a journey through the wilderness, which no one else can make for us, which no one can spare us. For our wisdom is the point of view from which we come at last to regard the world." We do not receive wisdom. We discover it ourselves. No one can impart wisdom to another. We might be able to share stories and experiences that we hope will nudge another along the path, but ultimately, wisdom is the result of journeying through the wilderness, the solitary path of anguish and its cessation. As I mentioned earlier, many Unitarian Universalists are drawn to Buddhist practices, whether or not they fully understand the delicacies of the Four Ennobling Truths or the rigor of the Eightfold Path. We long for the serenity of a mind that a meditation practice can impart, and we are drawn to the beauty of images of the Buddha with that peaceful expression, as well as the soft unfolding of the lotus flower. Sanskrit words fill our mouths and minds with the taste of the exotic. Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upekkha. Make no mistake, we have earned our reputation as syncretists, borrowing all the good stuff from other religious traditions without necessarily bothering to explore them more deeply. And that's okay. It widens our worldview and provides way stations in the wilderness on the journey to wisdom. We just need to be respectful and acknowledge that we are visitors in another's temple. We are drawn to these practices because of the nature of Unitarian Universalism as an orthopractic faith. You may have heard that we are the religion of deeds, not creeds. Although that's a bit simplistic, it does capture our commitment to making a positive impact in this world here and now, rather than in a promised afterlife. The intersection of Unitarian Universalism and Buddhism is orthopraxy, right doing, and that brings us to our mutual Eightfold Paths. You will note that I am including the proposed eighth principle of Unitarian Universalism, although our congregation has not yet adopted this addition to the more familiar 7 principles. There have not always been 7, and there have not always even been the same list. Ours is a living tradition, evolving as we evolve in our thinking, and yes, even in our doing. Let us begin with ourselves, with what we know, and then we will pause for a few moments of quiet reflection before we turn to the Eightfold Path of Buddhism as it is represented on the Dharma wheel. Our principles define and guide us. They are aspirational, which increases the danger of our putting them on a pedestal to be affirmed but not really lived in the fullness of our lives. Wisdom is gained by the transmutation of knowledge passed through the fire of experience. We are meant to live these into being. I will note that in the first 7 principles, only the 7th begins with an active verb, respect. The first 6 are ideas that we affirm and hopefully promote in our own dealing with others and in the larger world. Unitarian Universalism's eightfold path includes affirming and promoting the inherent worth and dignity of every person, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all, and respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. That's the first 7 principles. The proposed 8th principle affirms and promotes journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. This principle joins the 7th with action verbs: journeying, building, dismantling. The first 6 are lofty ideals. The 7th is a posture of respect, and the 8th calls us to put all of those lofty ideals into action to change a world that is built on oppression. That's a lot, and it can feel overwhelming, but we are an orthopractic faith. We believe that actions are more important than beliefs, deeds, not creeds. We've spent generations in the comfortable space of our minds and discussion groups, and we are being called to practice what we preach. An embodied faith must dwell in the body. It must arise out of the loving kindness that we cultivate. It must move from a place of gratitude. Pause with me for a time of reflection and meditation. We begin in the east, honoring the element of air, inspiration, and new light. And we turn to the left, and we gather the blessings of the earth and the sky, and we receive them. Exhale. And we balance that by turning to the right, and we gather the blessings of the earth and of the sky. We share them and we receive them. Exhale. Leading from the heart, we step forward in courage as we embrace that which is to come. And we turn to bless and release that which has been. A quarter turn brings us to the south, element of fire, the place of our work, and we gather the blessings. We share them, and we receive them, always letting that left hand lead. Exhale. And we balance that by turning to the right. We gather the blessings. We share. We receive. Exhale. Stepping forward in courage, we lead from the heart as we embrace that which is to come, and we turn to bless and release that which has been. And a quarter turn brings us to the west, the element of water, the place of introspection. We turn to the left because the left is the side of spirit, and we lead from the place of spirit. Exhale. We balance that by turning to the right, honoring the physical side of our nature. We share the blessings and we receive the blessings. We release. Leading from the heart, we step forward in courage to embrace that which is to come, and we turn and bless and release that which has been. A quarter turn brings us to the north, element of earth, the home of the ancestors. We gather the blessings. We share them. We receive. And we ground. We turn to the right and we gather the blessings, sharing, receiving, releasing. Leading from the heart, we step forward in courage as we embrace that which is to come, and we turn and we bless and release that which has been. And a quarter turn returns us to the east. Having danced our gratitude, we now offer prayers of gratitude. Great mystery, we awake to another sun, grateful for the gifts bestowed, granted one by one. Grateful for the greatest gift, the precious breath of life. Grateful for abilities that guide us day and night. As we walk our chosen path of lessons we must learn, spiritual peace and happiness, rewards of life we earn. We thank you for your spiritual strength and for our thoughts to praise. We thank you for your infinite love that guides us through these days. We are now taking refuge. We turn. Until the heart of enlightenment is reached, I go for refuge to the three jewels. I will attain enlightenment for the sake of all beings. Until the heart of enlightenment is reached, I go for refuge to the three jewels. I will attain enlightenment for the sake of all beings. Until the heart of enlightenment is reached, I go for refuge to the three jewels. I will attain enlightenment for the sake of all beings. Having taken refuge, we offer the mantra, Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Soha. 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 Having offered the mantra to the Bodhisattva of compassion, we acknowledge the light in one another. May we walk this day in beauty. Blessed be. I feel much more centered. I hope you do too. It is so easy for me to get stuck in my head, and taking a moment to engage my whole body, whether through movement or by mindful breathing, can be so restorative. Having reminded ourselves of the principles that inspire and guide us in our practice, let's turn to the Dharma wheel, the representation of Buddhism's Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path is meant to help the practitioner embody the four ennobling truths that we discussed earlier: anguish and its origins, its cessation, and the path to consciousness. There is no starting or ending point on the wheel. Although the Eightfold Path of Buddhism does not neatly align with our principles, we can't easily assign a spoke on the wheel with our values statements. The orthopraxy, or right actions, that the wheel represents are all in alignment with what we lift up in our own tradition. If Buddhism is attractive to you, know that practicing the Eightfold Path will make you a better you. So what are the spokes on this wheel, and what do they mean? We begin with right view, understanding that our actions have consequences. Next is right resolve, adopting the lifestyle of a seeker of wisdom and awakening, and adjusting our environment accordingly. Right speech reminds the practitioner not to lie, engage in rude speech, or gossip. Right conduct is similar to the parts of the Ten Commandments that we can most easily call to mind. No killing, no sexual misconduct, no material desires or envy. The next four spokes on the wheel are right livelihood, only possessing what is essential for life; right effort, restraint of the sense faculties, right mindfulness, being conscious of what one is doing and remembering that everything is transient, contingent, and impermanent, and right concentration, the meditation practice that reinforces all of the other practices. Does the Eightfold Path of Unitarian Universalism, that is built on values statements, principles, and ideals, fit neatly within the Buddhist Eightfold Path? No. They arise out of different cultures and different perspectives. Do these paths intersect and support one another? Absolutely. Individually and together, these orthopractic traditions that focus on practice rather than belief help us to become better humans, more compassionate members of the Earth family, and that is a worthy endeavor indeed. We begin with ourselves, quieting the chatter in our minds so that we can hear that deeper wisdom within, the wisdom that is rooted in our bodies and in the stillness of each breath.
Find a stillness, hold a stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find the silence, hold the silence, let the silence carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony. Seek the essence, hold the essence, let the essence carry me. Let me flower, help me flower, watch me flower, carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony.
We close this time of worship as we extinguish our chalice with these familiar words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Reverend Frederick E. Gillis provides the benediction to bless the time that we have shared. May the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us now and always. Thank you for joining us in worship today. Please see the credits at the end of this service for information about the music and the other worship elements. And do take a moment to visit our website, uuamherst.org, and click on the giving link, or text your gift to 833-987-1968. Your generosity in online giving is the virtual equivalent of passing the offering plate, and we are grateful for your generosity.
Travel light and travel easy, till I see you once again. Travel light remember I'm your friend. May the road rise up to greet you as you leave your past behind. I will think about you gently, and